Good morning, everyone. Selamat pagi. Welcome to Bali in Indonesia. I think I'd like to say thank you very much, especially for the organizing committee who sent a kind invitation for me to be present here to talk about what kind of the sustainability, what happened in the world, and what is the impact to the business, what are the investor focus, perspective, and then what happened in Indonesia, right? So, right. Now I think, like everyone knows, that the continents, countries, jurisdictions, and even the company have started to apply their own unique perspective to the ESG imperative. You know, like I mentioned earlier, the investor focus in the past, they only care about the return on investments, right? They just want to know about how much the money I spend to the business for investment, but then how much I can get return. So it's more about the financial aspect. It's more about whether I can get a dividend, where I can get, you know, a good return on the performance of the company. But nowadays, I think the investor has changed their mind, has changed their perspective. Now they would like also to get an access on the non-financial informations, right? So this non-financial information, specifically, it's about how the company, how the business can manage any sustainability risks, or perhaps they can simultaneously change it to becoming the opportunities for the companies. What about the sustainability things? Like now, I think nowadays we know that the climate change, it's one of the hot topic, right? So in this early morning, it's a nice weather, but sometimes we feel a bit warm, right? Or perhaps you still feel cold, but I don't think so, because I think we all agree then we feel warm at this moment. It's because of the climate change, you know. So this is, in the ESG's terms, this is one of the environmental aspects, yeah, which it will be disrupt to the business in the futures. For example, because of this climate change, you know, then there will be a heavy rain frequently, and perhaps there will be floods everywhere. So the supplies of the materials to your production facility distracted, right? So it will also impact to the effectiveness of your production's activities. In a normal production capacity, perhaps you can run the productions like a 3 shifts a day, but because of this, the issues, the climate change, and etc., so your productions will probably postpone or delay, becoming only 1 or 2 shifts. So there will be additional costs happen, right? The storage costs, waiting costs, and then the delay to send this to the customer, and etc. So there's only one thing that perhaps it will be a focus on the business and how the business to translate it becoming, you know, opportunities in the futures. So in KPMG, we actually doing a research. Yeah, so like you can see on the screen here, basically there are 10 global mega sustainability force that if the business is not aware about this, it will be disrupt or impact the business. What are they? The first one, the climate change. I think we all agree the climate change is what happened today, so we know about that. And then the material resources scarcity, the biodiversity loss, and then population's growth, energy fall, and also the issue about the food security. These 10 mega force sustainability will impact to your business, to our business. Why? It will result on the price increase, to the price volatility. Perhaps the government will issue a new regulations, for example, because of now the focus on how to manage the emissions number. Perhaps the government will issue regulations for the sector or industry. In Indonesia, for example, there will be a threshold for the numbers of the emissions, meaning that the company produce the emissions will exceeding this number. They will get, you know, kind of the fine or sanction from the government. So this is the impact to the business because of the new regulations. The changes in the consumer preference. Nowadays, I think we are aware that the consumer is more to buy the product that perhaps the material is from the sustainable materials, right? And in a simple way, like today, we drink a water from the one that actually we bought. It's not the one that we easily get the water from the tap water and drink freely, right? So meaning there is an economic changes here. So in the past, perhaps it is free. We can get water everywhere, but nowadays we need to go buy the water for us to drink, right? So this sustainability megaforce is actually will be identified as the risk or the opportunities. If the business has a good and effective strategy to respond these sustainability topics, it will becoming the opportunities. For example, the regulation, the customer preference. If you have a good team to do a research and etc., you will, come up with the new product, with new service, which have sustainability impact to the world, something like that. But these things that the company is doing in their operation, they are doing the sustainability activities, they are doing the sustainability program, target, metrics, and etc. This is something they need to, report or to convey this information to the investor. Otherwise, investor will not get an access to what happened in your company about the sustainabilities, right? So in the futures, the customer demand, the investor demand will change again. So they will ask the business, the company, to produce, to report, to disclose about the sustainability informations. So perhaps what we call it like a sustainability report. And I think Güntner also has a lot of actions for the sustainability and properly reported in the sustainability report. So now I think there is a video, yeah, so we can. Right, thank you. So, in the executive summary of the survey that we conduct in 2024, now we are doing for the 2025, but have not published yet. But the most important things that I would like to highlight to you here, that there is the move to mandatory reporting, right? So from the slide, you can see like about 96% of the G250 companies, so this is the global companies with the most, the highest revenue in the world, around the world, it's been report the sustainability informations. And even 79% of the national 100 companies, so this is the level of the company has the highest revenue in each country, so we call it N100 companies, has reported also the sustainability informations. And the interesting part is the 95% of G250 companies, I think, has been published about their carbon targets. And the percentage is not small, I think. It's even up to 15%, right? So you can imagine, now the mandatory reporting is now moved, right? It's a move. So from that survey, we indicate there are 6 major trends that now, the reporting on the sustainability and setting on the carbon target is not unusual. It's becoming a usual for the business. So meaning that it's now as an important topics, and the investor also concerned on this. And some companies have already changed the practice in advance to move it. Like I think the most good practice, I think it's in the Europe, right? The European Union Commission has even issued the specific regulations for the company to publish and report about the sustainability. Yeah, like For example, if the company from Indonesia would like to export some materials to the Euro, so they will ask, hey, do you have the sustainability information report? Have you do some of the sustainability activities in your company? Whether your product is meet the requirement from the investor here. So it's already mandatory to do that, right? So, and when the sustainability reporting changes the landscape, so there are now a clear expectations from the stakeholder, from the investor, that they want, the report that have the credibility, they have the quality, and of course, comparability. You can imagine if the investor coming to your company and they would like to invest, they would like to get an access on the financial information and also the sustainability-related information. They would like to compare this to another companies. You can imagine how if this company's reporting framework for the sustainability is not comparable with the other company. So it will be difficult for the investor to make an economic decisions, right? Today, the policymaker, regulator, standard setter, a broad range, and etc., I think has been agreed that the foundations of the new reporting ecosystem for the sustainability is important. Like I mentioned earlier, if the investor coming to you asking for the sustainability information report, but if there is no a global baseline of the sustainability report that the company can use globally, internationally, so the investor cannot compare. Because the output of the information on the sustainability matters, it could be different, right? So if I look back to the past, right, so why perhaps you're asking about why the topic is delivered here? What is important for you? Something like that, for me, yeah. So the sustainability reporting's landscaping was changing. Yeah. The most important here, I think, in 2015. At the time, the Paris Agreement, in the COP21, all countries gathered together, including Indonesia, I think. And I think we have agreed to set how the net zero emissions number for each country. And from the country level, this net zero emissions target will push down to the industry, will be pushed down to the sectors, to the companies, including us. But again, the investor asks, how we can ensure, how we can make sure that the numbers, the carbon target that the company disclose, that the country disclose is accurate, is complete, right? So that's an investor concern. So that's why in 2022, I think the International Financial Reporting Standard Foundation established the International Sustainability Standard Board. And this board is actually launched a new IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standard for the sustainability disclosures. The S1 is about general requirement, and the second one is about the climate-related disclosures. With this new international sustainability reporting standard, a lot of countries adopt and apply it, including European. And I think European Commission has now already have the European Sustainability Standard. And then together with the other regulators, like the CSRD and also the Task Force Disclosures Climate, required the companies, required the business in European to also comply with the reporting of the sustainability informations. How about in Indonesia? Yeah, so this is perhaps to give you a brief understanding on how the sustainability reporting in Indonesia. Because of the international sustainability standard, the one that published in 2023, so Indonesia, we already have national sustainability standard disclosures, which just recently published in July 2025. And this standard is going to be effective in 1st January 2027. But the questions whether this standard is applied for my company or not. So now the regulator in Indonesia, the OJK, the Security Exchange Commission in Indonesia, now is adapting this, adjusting this to their regulation. So at this moment, it's only the company which have the public interest, which listed in the Indonesian stock exchange, is the one that required to apply this sustainability standard disclosures, including the financial institutions, banking service, and etc. Right? So, meaning that the impact to you is if your company is listed in the IDX, in the Indonesia Stock Exchange, or your parent company is also listed in the Indonesian Stock Exchange, or your parent company is perhaps from the European, from the US, they will require you to report the sustainability informations. So once done with the reporting side, the investor will not just easily say, okay. They need someone to do the verifications on
KPMG's 2025 ESG Assurance Maturity Index reveals how companies are navigating the evolving ESG landscape. Based on insights from 1,320 companies, the index shows that 74% of companies indicate that their sustainability reporting plans under the CSRD remain unchanged, a clear signal that market expectations continue to drive action. As expected, CSRD Wave 1 companies are further ahead of their peers. With stronger data systems, deeper board engagement, and more robust ESG strategies, these early adopters are already seeing results. 60% expect greater market share, over half anticipate increased profits, and many report improved stakeholder trust and operational efficiency. Across all respondents, leaders are far more likely than others to expect financial gains from higher shareholder value, improved profitability, reduced business risks, and greater investment and asset optimization. Since 2023, pressure for ESG assurance has surged, not just from regulators, but from investors, asset managers, and even local communities. Financial markets are rewarding ESG-aligned companies with lower capital costs, while community expectations have grown sixfold. KPMG's 5-pillar framework helps organizations benchmark their progress and prepare for assurance. ESG assurance isn't just about compliance, it's about leading with purpose. The boldest organizations are using it to unlock long-term value, build trust, and shape a more resilient future. Want to learn more? Visit kpmg.com/ESG index.
Right. Sustainability is not a destination. It's a journey. And I think it's a journey for everyone. It's everyone's responsibility, individually, corporate, and the business. So when I'm talking about the sustainability information is becoming mandatory, meaning that the business is now need to start doing, whether you have the resources to do that, whether you have a talent on that one, whether you have a governance, whether you have system to accommodate it. So this is something that the business, that the company also need to be considered. In the futures, the investor will not only rely on the self-reporting of the sustainability disclosure or informations by the company. They will ask the third parties, they will ask the verificator, they will ask the auditors, they will ask the assurers to do verifications to making sure that the quality of the information on the sustainability is not significantly misstated. So meaning that why? It's because the investor is also want to make sure there is no issue about the greenwashing, right? So that's why in the futures, the demand of the assurance on the ESG report, assurance on the sustainability report will increase, right? So this is the survey that we conducted to the leaders around the world. We divided it based on the category here, the company that been reported it and ready for the assurance. So we classified it as leaders. But for the company that they only started the process of the reporting on the assurance, there will be a beginner, right? So, but the most important, the conclusion from the survey is that nowadays the company, specifically in the Europe, now it's becoming more advanced in doing the sustainability report, and they are ready for the assurance of the sustainability report. So there are a couple steps that the company can start at this moment after understanding about what are the sustainability standards, what need to be reported, whether they need to do the verification from the third party. But the most important things, the technology, is also important to helping you on the sustainability reporting. For example, here, perhaps now the artificial intelligence is also can be used for you to making sure the accuracy of the data, to ensure the completeness of the ESG informations. Because you can imagine, if you applied the sustainability reporting standard in the future, you need to report the emissions number of yourself, your company itself, your company. But you also require to report the emissions number of your suppliers, distributors, customer, including the emission resulted by your employee, like the employee commuting and etc. So this thing, it means that we need to be ready now to do the sustainability reporting, to making sure the infrastructures are ready for that one. And I think there's a step here that perhaps you can consider here. So you need to start analyzing on your business model, on your value chain. Perhaps my business is now creating the materials or creating the machinery or the asset that can be used by the customer. But on every step, when I'm doing this process on my business, it will be resulting on the emissions. The question is how you capture these emissions, how you calculate these emissions. That's interesting, right? Like today, we are here, everyone coming here, you are doing the business travels. And the business travel is actually one of the topics that need to be reported in the sustainability standard disclosures. How are we going to calculate the emission from the business travel? What I know is I only have the airline ticket. I have the kilometer from Jakarta to Bali, perhaps. Yeah, but for example, the airlines in Indonesia, like Garuda Indonesia, they have published in their website how much the emissions number. So we can use this number to calculate as the emission factor, and then resulting to how much the emission for myself doing the business travel from Jakarta to Bali. But it's only one individual. Can we imagine we need to report all the employees in our company? And can you imagine if we also need to gather the information from our suppliers, from our customer, right? So this will be, a complex reporting, a complex collection of the data. But it's okay. I think we are in the journey on that one. So I'm here not to making you afraid, or perhaps you imagine, now, wow. The corporate reporting is changing now. It's not only about the financial matters, but now about the sustainability. Yeah. So I think that's all my presentations. And I think as a closing remark here, I would like to say thank you to everyone for your attention to my presentation here. I'll be around here. If you have any question around the sustainability things, around the sustainability issues in Indonesia, and how about the reporting standard, the assurance, etc., feel free to ask me. My closing remark will be, sustainability is not a destination. It's a journey. And this is our responsibility, not your responsibility, not my responsibility. It's not only the company's responsibility, it's everyone's responsibility. And I think let's start to concern on the sustainability matters. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Thank you once again, Mr. Angga, for your time and sharing us. We'll let you back to your seat. Thank you very much.